My dog did.
That was very soft.
I tell you what,
That was very
I've done
soft.
that. Some I've never like on my full time. So when I leave, I've done that some. And I go by because you never run across somebody who has the ones that have. And so I just I'm been sliding. She's talking about saying
Whenever you
next to you.
Don Booper.
Hey.
You just come back out of hiding for ski season? All right, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Good morning. Start off with the weather, which wasn't nearly as bad as what we thought it was, but we still do have flooding in a lot of areas around the county. So if you have vacant listings and you haven't checked on them already, check on them and then let your sellers know what you find, good or bad. They'll really, really appreciate it. We had our standard forms meeting. Gosh, that looks a little goofy, doesn't it? Hang on just a second.
You went the wrong way, did you?
Yeah, I was adjusting the settings earlier, and with the logo on the first screen, it looked good. But let's see. I'll put it back. So a little better. So we had our standard forms committee meeting. I'm on this committee for the state. We meet 4 times a year. And I just with what we the way it works is we met this month. We'll meet again next month with the full risk management committee, and they will approve or not approve the changes that we've made, and then anything that's approved goes into effect January 1st. So this isn't final yet, but I'm pretty confident in it that the home inspection addendum, we did get the language worked out, so it will have a pass-fail option. If you remember, that was in there on July 1st, and then they threw the form within a couple of days because some attorneys around the state found some what they thought was conflicting language in it. And the problem was people were looking to have that one clause do 2 different things. They wanted to, on the one hand, call it an as-is inspection, but then on the other hand, still make it a contingency. So we're going to call it pass-fail now. And I think that'll be worked out. So that'll be part of the home inspection form. You won't need a separate addendum. It'll just be a box you can check. We're doing this kind of inspection, or we're doing the kind that is going to come with a punch list. So that should make it much more clear. And the good thing is, if you choose that pass-fail, it's very clear about all the other stuff in the contract. The seller doesn't have to do the termite or the well or the septic or any of the other things because it's as is. Finally, after 20 years that I've been in the business and thinking that our lead-based paint form was dictated directly from the government, I learned last week that it is not. That at some point, that screwy little line that says the buyer has informed the seller of their obligations does not come directly from the government. Our buddy Lem Marshall stuck that in there sometime in the early 80s because he thought there was something in the law that required it. So we took it out. What you'll certify from now on is that I think the language is that you are
Providing copies.
No, just that you're aware that the seller has made their client aware of this, and you can initial that because you're using the form. The seller's already signed the form, so you know they've been made aware. So the line that says, yes, I've talked to the buyer, will go away finally, which I think is a pretty great thing. At our last week, after this meeting, some of us were talking in the kitchen about the home inspection addendum. And somebody brought up the idea that they wish it said business days, so that if you got 3 days and you get a punch list on a Friday, you're not really hamstrung as far as getting estimates and that kind of thing. And so I said, well, our standard forms meeting is tomorrow. I'll see if I can just bring it up, even though it's not on the agenda. And I did, and we were that far from making business days carry through the entire contract. and then at the last minute decided not to do that. But so the home inspection addendum is going to stay as it is, with calendar days to be consistent with the rest of the contract. But the point, and what really struck me there, is, a conversation here on Tuesday morning was a couple inches away from changing the entire contract for the state. There is that little separation between us and Laura Farley and the risk management committees. So if and when you see things in the contract that you think don't make sense or should be changed, just let me know. And I've got a really easy pipeline to bring them up. And if it's the kind of thing that they've heard from other people, we can affect really great change all at once.
I was part of that conversation, and that was something I'm doing now. So when it comes to the first 15 or 10 or 20 days, fine, calendar days, you have enough time.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the reports, I put 5 biz in the spot, and it takes it.
Oh, okay. Well, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Some people were saying they just do 7 now, so that no matter what day of the week you give it, you're going to have 5 business days. And we haven't decided to do it, but there has been talk of really taking a hard look at the residential contract, which is super, super, super heavily weighted towards the buyer right now. And there have been a lot of complaints from agents and brokers around the state that their sellers are sometimes kind of hamstrung, with like a home inspection addendum that gives the buyer the right to just walk. So there is some talk about taking a look at the kind of the spirit of the contract and maybe making it a little more balanced. So if you have ideas along those lines, or you're in a situation where you really have to dig into a particular paragraph and you think something isn't right or ought to be changed, let me know. And I'm going to start a list of this stuff and the things that you think are important in the real world. We'll make it to the committee discussion. It's really neat to see. All those folks, by the way, yesterday at the Virginia Realtor's office were locked in the basement for about 3 hours due to the tornadoes. Yeah, it was close enough that they sent them all to the basement. And luckily, I mean, it's a finished, looks like a nice office, but yeah, they were down there most of the afternoon.
When can we expect changes to come? When can we see those?
The forms changes, those are always January 1 and July 1. So anything that gets approved in this fall series of meetings will be in effect in July 1, and then we do 2 meetings in the spring for any changes that'll come July.
Did you put time is of the essence back into the home inspection addendum?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. I mean, I don't think you need to.
Mm-hmm.
The only place in the contract it says on or about is the closing
so
date.
Many people just drag their feet when it comes to it, and it's something that I always wanted to get over fast. That's a contingency.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Gosh, that really looks awful. Sorry about the color there. Maybe I'm just trying to put too much on a page. What that says that you probably can't read is we are ready to begin our office renovation. We started talking about this at the beginning of the year at our company meeting. We've got a plan for both floors. We've been in this building 15 years and haven't really done any kind of major renovation. So the upstairs area will be some shared workstations with a variety of chargers for all of your devices, a comfortable seating area with places you can work comfortably on a laptop, a coffee station and a small fridge. We're going to replace all the lighting with LEDs, which will be a much more of a natural sunlight kind of feel than a fluorescent light inside a box kind of feel that we've had. We're doing on both floors, it's called LVL. It's vinyl, but it looks like hardwood, feels like hardwood. It's nearly indestructible. So we've got a sample of that in the lobby if you're interested in that, but that'll go on both floors of the building everywhere except offices, all the common areas and everything. For the common space upstairs, agents will have lockers that'll be big enough to put a decent sized laptop and all of your stuff that you want to keep here, if you'd like to do that. On the downstairs, the lobby is going to get kind of a makeover with the new flooring. The wall behind Lois's desk will be stacked stone. The front and side of her desk will be stacked stone, and then the top will be granite, which will match the new granite in our kitchen that we're redoing a little bit. We're going to put a range in so we can actually cook there when we have events, and add some cabinets and do granite tops. There will be some disruption. We're not doing the offices, so it won't be completely disruptive. But we will, builder's coming by today to let us know when he's going to actually get started. He's going to order the flooring today. Rebecca already has kind of a timeline prepared for everybody. We just need that first date to plug in. So once we get that, we think we're going to do the lobby first, get the first floor done, and then move upstairs. We'll get everybody a timeline that'll let you know when everything's going to be disrupted and how long that'll be. These guys work incredibly quickly, so I don't think it's going to be too much. Anybody that needs a space to work when stuff's crazy up there, if you need to be here, you're welcome to use the conference rooms. You can use my office, any office that's usually vacant. I think we'll be fine. So, questions?
I do have a question. If I would want to change out, I mean, if I want my office floor changed out to actually the nice vinyl that you have out,
Mm-hmm.
would that be a cost to whoever has the office?
Yeah, and that, I don't know how that would look. We could talk about that.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay. It's exciting to get going. It's really going to look nice. More exciting stuff. We have, if some of you have been here a while, remember at a time in the past, we had an education director who ran the classes, also mentored the new agents. And then when Sally left, we started a mentorship system, and I took over the classes. We've gotten to the size now that I think we need an education director again, combined with the mentor system. And Becky Good from our Augusta office is going to take on that role. She has done, she'll be happy to hear that. She's awesome. She has completely revised the curriculum. It is in far greater detail than what I had been using. And also we're kind of revamped the mentor program only to make sure that the mentors are spending enough time with the mentees and going over with them the things that we're hitting in class. It's going to be a little bit more of a serious program, 2 4-hour sessions a week, one here, one in Augusta. And existing agents are welcome to join. So the curriculum isn't quite finished. We're rushing this announcement just a little bit because I'm out of town next week and Becky's out of town the week following. But when we get it nailed down and everybody has had a chance to review it, we'll get that out to everybody. And if you see a topic that you find interesting or want to either learn about or talk about, you're welcome to drop in at any time. So I think it's going to get our newer folks off to a better start with a more in-depth knowledge base. And I think hopefully more experienced agents will take advantage of it too and participate in the discussions and maybe learn a little bit along the way. Okay, this is totally up to you, but I did this yesterday. I've been waiting for this update. I'm a guy that never has the latest, greatest cell phone, so this is an iPhone 6. And some of you may have heard 6 months ago or so, there was a big stink because it became public that Apple has some programming in here to slow down the older phones, which they said was to save our batteries, and everybody else in the world says, no, it's to make me buy a newer phone. Mm-hmm. So with this update that became available yesterday, they fixed that. And it's dramatic how much quicker my phone, the camera is unbelievable, how much quicker it opens. Most of the apps seem to open a little more quickly. It has a cool little battery management tool, so you can see if you're dropping which of your apps are draining your battery the most. Because it's an older phone, it tells me that the best this battery is ever going to do right now is 84% of what it was when it was brand new. So it's super easy to download. I would just throw it out there too. If you have an iPhone, I would grab it. Back up your phone first and then grab it. This is a video. The rest of the meeting is going to be a lot of just some legal questions and things I was bouncing around looking at last night. And I saw this video, which I had not seen before, and brings some interesting questions about photography, which is a big part of what we do. Turn the air conditioning on.
Okay, everybody, I want to give you a brief update on something that has been fairly hot in the last year or so. In July of 2015, a company, which is a network of photographers, filed a lawsuit against Zillow. And in it, they were claiming that Zillow was violating their copyright when it had pictures that these professional photographers had taken of listed properties. Now, what the agreement was is when a listing agent or a seller contracted with one of these professional photographers, oftentimes not knowing they were part of this collective, to take pictures of the listed property. In the agreement, there was a limited release that the listing agent could use those pictures for the purposes of advertising the property only for the length of time that the property was listed. And at the end of the listing, either when the property sold or when the listing agreement was terminated and a new listing broker took on the listing, the limited license ended, and therefore the rights to use those photos stopped existing at the time that that listing agreement ended. Well, that creates a problem because, as many of you may know or may not know, when you upload your photos into the MLS, many MLS terms of use and agreement say very explicitly that you have the rights to those photographs and that you transfer all of those copyrights to the MLS. Well, that creates a problem because you don't actually have full rights to those photos. You have a limited right to those photos based on the agreement with the professional photographer. In copyright violations for things such as this, if this lawsuit prevails, damages can be awarded anywhere from $750 to $30,000 per violation. If there's willful infringement found, that amount can go up to $150,000 per work. So think about it. Think about how many listings you have that you may have hired a professional photographer to take these pictures. And if it comes out that you uploaded these into the MLS, which probably has language in the agreement somewhere that says that you agree to indemnify them against any charges, and it's found that there was a willful infringement, you could be paying $150,000 per listing that those pictures are found in violation. Now, there are a couple of things that you can do to help mitigate your risk. And this is, I want you to channel your inner lawyer when you're doing all of this. Look at who owns the copyright. Who took the pictures, and did that person who took the pictures fully transfer the rights to those pictures to either you or the owner, or did they retain them and give you a limited license? Once you know who owns the copyright, look at, if you have a license, look at what the scope of that license is. Is it a limited in time? Is it limited in use? When are you allowed to use it? How are you allowed to use those photos? And finally, make sure that you look at what the terms and conditions for each website that you put those photos on are. So if you upload them to the MLS, that may have one set of terms and conditions. If you upload them directly onto another website, maybe Zillow or another website like that, and you go directly, not through the MLS, they may have different terms and conditions of use. So just make sure you've read everywhere. You know who has the rights, what those rights are, and then you know what rights you are promising to give to whoever you're posting those photos on. All right, thanks everybody.
Interesting. Now, I'm sure all of you have read through your terms and conditions with your Zillow agreement very thoroughly, and you understand how they treat those pictures. I thought it was an interesting idea. I had not heard of that lawsuit, but our arrangement with, and I sent Mike an email about this last night because all of our prior contracts with Ashley were kind of in one format. And it was very clearly in there that we owned all the rights to those photographs except the right to sell them for profit. That was the only thing we can't do. But other than that, we are the owners. So we can honestly transfer them to the MLS and Zillow and everybody else. This newest one that we just signed was in a different format, and I don't think that it was just more of the mechanics of what we owe each other. So I don't think that statement was in there. So Mike and I are going to meet today and figure out the right language to get that back in there. It's not going to be a problem, but if that ever comes up with another agent or Zillow or any of your providers, we do own the copyrights to those pictures. Okay, this got me thinking about the legal hotline. Just as a reminder, public service announcement. It is an incredible, incredible resource. For those of you who may have been frustrated with it 10 years ago, forget everything you know about it. Laura and the ladies that are there are a totally different legal department than when Blake was there. Their average response time is under 2 hours. You have to enter your question online. So you go to the VR website, put in your question, certify that, yes, I've talked to my broker about this, and he says it's okay to call you, or if you can't reach me, go ahead and send it to them. I'll get a little email from them letting me know that you've submitted a question, and then they'll call you. They don't respond by email; they will call you, and they're very quick to do that. So it's free. You can call them 5 times a day if you want to, and they're really very, very good. So don't ignore that as a resource if you have a question.
Is it like 8 to 5 business hours?
Yeah. Fine. So I want to spend a little time whenever I get onto that site and look at the legal stuff. I love going to their top 25. So this is, they always have that publication there. They update it every year. This is the 2018 version. And it is the top 25 most frequently asked or most impactful questions that they get on the hotline. And it's amazing, number one, how consistent some of the problems are around the state. But then number two, when we're looking at the forms, how different everybody's customs are. Down in the southwest part of the state bordering Tennessee, they have a very formal final walkthrough document that not only talks about the house, but also every buyer certifying, yeah, I've got my insurance and I've done this and I've done that. And seller saying, yeah, this is done and that's cleaned out and here's the garage door opener. And they were lobbying for a state form that did that. And everybody else in the room said, what are you talking about? We've never seen that. So
I have seen it locally. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not that exact form, but there's, I want to say, is it Augusta County or is it to the north? To the north.
Probably
Yeah.
MIS, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a walkthrough form in the forms library that just kind of takes you through the house and you can check, yes, it's working, no, it's not, but that kind of thing. So, but the problems that we all have often relate to human being problems. So they are pretty consistent. So I pulled some of them out last night that I thought were interesting to talk about today. First one. An agent in my office is selling his own home and has heard he doesn't have to use the owner-agent sign anymore. Are those signs still required? Yes. They've flip-flopped on this 3 times that I know of. But right now, in all advertising, you have to have owner-agent if you own even 1% of that property or if you're in an LLC that owns that property. On your signs, on your newspaper ads, on your electronic ads. What if my client, during the course of an exclusive listing, tells me to withdraw his property from the MLS and cease efforts on his behalf? Do I have to do it? He signed an agreement for 6 months, but 2 months in says, I've changed my mind. No, you don't have to.
I say no.
No, we got a no. Anybody think you do have to? Barry kind of halfway put his hand up. He is correct. You do. We sign a service agreement. If they say withdraw from the MLS, you have no choice but to withdraw from the MLS. You can, however, sue them because the agreement also says if you break this before the end of it without my written permission, you owe me commission. We've never done that because in most cases it would cost more than what we'd recover. Cottonwood has done that a few times when folks have broken the listing because they know they have a buyer waiting in the wings and they can do a commission-free deal. But if our agreement with the sellers is a service agreement, and if they tell us to withdraw, we have to do it. We can't force them to advertise their house for sale if they don't want to.
Wow.
So in those cases, and I say we've never sued anybody, if that happens because the couple was planning on getting divorced and then they reconcile, John had that happen. That's a life thing. I'm not going to ask them to compensate us. Congratulations, glad you're not getting divorced. Whenever you need a real estate agent, please call John back. That's a different situation than somebody just changing their mind. When that happens, we try to negotiate some kind of recovery for the money that we've spent and your time in it. And whatever we can get back, generally we don't split. We just give it to the agent. And everybody moves on. But really don't want to sue anybody. This is an interesting one that might apply. I know some of you have rental property. So the landlord wants to pay a finder's fee referral fee, basically, to tenants who bring in other renters. Can the landlord directly compensate his tenants in this fashion, even though a real estate firm is managing the property? So the question is, if I own rental property, can I pay an unlicensed person a referral fee to send me a tenant? No's? Anybody think yes?
I would think you could if you're not a licensee
No, you are a licensee.
as a landlord.
Yeah, you've got a rental property that you own. You got tenants in it. You tell them, hey, if you can find me the next tenant, I'll pay you $100.
You assume we're realtors in this case, but we own rental property.
Right.
No,
That's a tricky one.
I don't think you can.
This is the one exception in the law.
Oh,
The one exception in the law where an unlicensed person can get a referral fee is from the owner of the property for referring a tenant. Yeah, so you can actually, on any of your rental properties, you can make that offer to your tenants if you want.
seems like you ought to be
It's
doing
legal.
for a sale. Then.
Nope. Because when you get into the sale, that's what then we get into the whole lenders and steering and people, you're paying your favorite lender $100 a lead or whatever. So all of that's prohibited by RESPA. This is the one and only exception.
Can we get a finder's fee for not in property management and we refer a renter?
Yes, if you have an active license, you can earn money. Yep.
Priority does it.
Sure.
I just got to check them.
Yeah, Priority will pay you a referral fee for sure.
Ain't much.
Yeah, the numbers are not that big, unfortunately.
It was something.
Hey, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
there's some
much.
down there.
My dad would say, better than sharp stick in the eye. Right?
Not to use your name.
So, I was offered what I consider to be a low commission split as the selling agent. When I looked at the settlement statement, I learned the listing agent received a much higher split. This can't be right. When I demanded to see the seller's listing agreement, he refused. So, number one, does the listing agreement have to say it's a 50-50 split? And number two, does the buyer's agent have a right to see what the full commission is?
I would say no.
No and no. Right.
Wow.
Right. Doesn't have to be 50-50. It can be, I'm going to pay 6%, 3.5 listing side, 2.5 selling side. As long as the seller's fine with that, that's cool. The buyer's agent, the listing agreement is a legal agreement between the seller and the listing firm. Somebody that's not a party to that agreement, buyer's firm, has no right to see that agreement. What they have is the right to see what's being offered, and they see that in the MLS. There's a firm who often here demands to see the full commission. And you don't have to give it to them. In fact, you shouldn't unless your seller says it's okay. Yeah. Is an earnest money deposit necessary for contract formation?
No.
No. If one is offered but the check bounces, is that default or are we okay because it wasn't required to start with?
That's default.
They've agreed
Right.
to.
If the buyer offers it as part of the terms of the contract and then they can't follow through, they're in default. Does a real estate licensee have to hold the earnest money deposit in a real estate transaction?
No.
No. Who can hold it?
Company, title.
Buyer's grandma? As long as the buyer and seller agree in writing, anybody on the planet can hold it. Buyer's parents, seller's grandmom, my neighbor, my friend who's a judge, whatever, as long as the buyer and seller agree. If any of those people are not real estate agents, then they're not under the same regulations we are to deposit within 5 days and keep a separate accounting of it and all of that kind of stuff. But it's perfectly okay as long as the buyer and seller agree. Just like it's okay that it can be deposited in the bank 20 days after contract as long as everybody agrees in writing. That's always a good default in any kind of contract situation. If both parties agree in writing and it's not illegal, it's okay. Okay. I'm a listing agent, and my client told me the house was on public sewer. I included that information in the MLS. Several months after closing, the buyer contacted my firm with the news that the house was not on public sewer and the septic system just drenched his front yard. Do I face any liability?
No.
Why? Right.
Well, yeah,
2 years ago, would I have faced any liability?
I don't know, has it changed?
Barry's saying probably, or you wouldn't be asking that question. Which is correct. There was a change in the law in 17 that the Virginia Realtors pushed through that said, if we rely on our seller or public records and the information turns out to be false, we cannot be held liable.
So
So it's written in the law now.
in a situation like this, like where the city has appropriated county properties over the years, or appropriated is not the right word, they
Annex.
annexed, and there's some question mark, shouldn't you as a realtor know to check if someone says, I'm on public sewer, you know, that doesn't sound right, kind of thing? It's happened a couple times here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that new law would still protect you. But yes, in doing your best job as an agent, if you know it's happened before and this house is in an area where you've had bad records, sure. Okay, I think that was the last one. Nope, one more. Oh, this is a good one. Buyer's terminating the contract based on the POA packet, but she really just wants out because she got cold feet. Can she do that?
Yes.
Okay, we got one more over this. Right. If it's within the time frame, absolutely. And remember, you guys, many of you have heard me say I had a young couple use this to get out of a Massanutten deal, and then they bought another house in Massanutten. They had just same covenants. They had just changed their mind. All right, last one, also about POA. My client received the POA packet and wants out. Therefore, we sent the seller a signed release of contract requesting a release within 3 days of receiving the packet. Now the seller says he won't sign the release and is proceeding to settlement. What gives? So it's within my time frame. I sent the release.
Okay.
Right. Just sending the release doesn't terminate. It just says, hey, I'd like to be released.
Do you know how many
And
people do
so
that?
I know. So you wait your 3 days if you're on the seller side, stay silent, and now the time period's gone and you're off to close. So be sure to terminate. If you're terminating, be sure you're using a termination form or your email has that word in it. So it's very, very clear.
I just unfortunately had one terminate, and when you go to .NET now, you can either get the release and the termination, or you can get them together.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Katie
that
did
you-
that for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. I love those questions. We do that stuff all day.
Can I just say, what is the purpose then of the release if you're going to send a termination? You have
Termination is unilateral, terminates, but each party could still sue the other one. We haven't cleared up how the earnest money is going to be dispersed.
Okay.
So the release says, hey, we're going our separate ways. I'm not going to sue you. You're not going to sue me. And here's how the earnest money is going to get handled. But if you just send that and don't terminate, then the other side can wait for a deadline to come and go, and then you've lost the right to
It's the
terminate.
cart before the horse.
Yeah. We've got a Realtor Connect affiliate trade show coming up on October the 17th. If you haven't registered for that yet, that's how you can do it. Right in Paragon Lamps event sign up. Click, and you're done. It's going to be out of Cross Keys Vineyard again this year. It was fantastic there last year. The food was great. The venue was great. We don't have any board members in the room, do we? Not sure exactly what the lineup will be, but it's going to be good. So don't miss out on that. There are Linda Whitmore's having a realtor open today. No, it's not. So 525,000. And then I don't have the flyer, but Kim Robb is also having one out on Melrose, another very expensive house. I'm sure you all got that flyer. You got a couple listings to look at.
Oh, yeah.
That's Monica's, but it's
Okay.
ours. Look, I don't know a whole lot about this one, to tell you the truth. I've been in it. It's very nice. It's almost new. out there at Greenport.
I can tell you, those are really nice houses.
They are.
And
They're
they're really
very,
well built.
very
One
nice.
level.
Really well built.
Handicap accessible, all that stuff.
Dean Weaver is building those.
Very nice.
Okay,
I think it's
279,
about 2 years old.
4 bedrooms.
Is that mandatory 55 and over?
No,
No.
no,
Mm-mm.
no. It started out, originally,
Right.
the builder started out with 55 and older, but it
That was David
changed,
Crumley.
Yeah.
Is it vacant? It is vacant. Yep, it's easy to show. This
I
is
love this
our
house.
listing. I'm really excited about this house. This house is in Bridgewater. It is a world unto itself.
It is, yeah.
It is just breathtaking. The detail in this house, the woodwork, the craftsmanship, it is stunning. It's huge. It's like 4,500 about-ish square feet. Those are gas logs in the parlor. That light there is a gas light that's been converted to electric. There's story after story after story around this house with all the specialties. You can see some of the woodwork, those alcoves behind the door. There's some going up the stairs for your art. Another marble fireplace. Those are gas logs in the family room. That family room could be converted if you wanted a master on the main. You can make this a master, and then there's an attached, this could be the master closet. Right now they're using it as a library. There's also a full bath on that floor. The owner has redone the ceiling in the library. Now there's very ornate ceiling tile in there that the pictures didn't capture. This is a bathroom on the main that's a full bath. Dining room, again, very ornate fireplace. It's a built-in period cupboard, gorgeous. It's a door into the kitchen there. You can see the hardwood floors. This is the kitchen. It's been updated. It's very, very spacious, beautiful, eat-in. Going. It's another built-in pantry cupboard. Those are gas logs there in the kitchen.
They've done a lot.
Yeah. Yes. The next one's one of my favorite ones. This is a butler's pantry. It is a walk-in butler's pantry. It's gorgeous. Check out that square window and the built-in cupboards. It's beautiful. This is a summer porch that goes out from the kitchen onto a courtyard, backyard area that's fenced in with a gorgeous wrought iron fence. It's just lovely. And then it's almost an acre behind. This is the laundry room. It is absolutely huge. And then we're going to go upstairs. This is a banister. You can see the banister detail, the landing, second floor landing. Those are doors out onto a second floor balcony. You can have your coffee out there.
Look at the woodwork.
It's lovely. This is a master bedroom. Master bath. Bedroom 2. Bedroom 3, and we don't have a picture of bedroom 4. I'm waiting on one of those from Ashley. There's 4 bedrooms, 4 baths here. This is the hall bathroom. Now, if we just pause here for a second, the attic is a world in and of itself, and it's already separated into rooms. It's ready to finish. I could go on and on about the attic, but it wouldn't take much to finish this out. 3rd floor, 3 other bedrooms and a whole. It could be a studio with a loft. It is fantastic. This is a separate and attached cottage. So this is a little cottage. It's attached to the house, but with its own separate entrance. It's a full separate living quarters. That's the living area. Those are electric fireplace there. There's several electric fireplaces in the house. This is the living area. Right now they're using it as a game room. That's the full bath that's in that separate area. This is not the prettiest picture. We kept it in because you can see they were starting. It's roughed in for a kitchen. They started out and just didn't get it finished, but this could be like almost immediate rental income. That's the fence that's so gorgeous, and then there's more backyard that goes around it that's lovely. Little gazebo. It's a fabulous house. And now the barn. The barn is 3-bay car garage, and then above is a loft area, and that's also a really, really beautiful space with tons of potential. We priced it well, and we're saying up front, the roof has just a couple more years of wear left. And so we priced it accordingly. I feel we priced it really, really well.
That's a 25.
That's wood, they're wood shingles. But the house is in excellent condition. Lots of good updates. It's been well cared for. Don't know what else I could say. It is by appointment only. They want 24-hour notice. Yeah. If you want any questions, just ask me.
Spectacular.
And spectacular. Walk everywhere in Bridgewater.
Yeah. Miss Eva?
Well, this is a little less spectacular, but by and large, it's still very nice. It's a ranch on a full basement, basically. And what is really special about this house are the floors. They are magnificent. They're cherry, although they do look like walnut. Nice deck in the back. Nice private yard. The kitchen is just the centerpiece of the house, I think. KitchenAid appliances, real high end. Nice granite, nice cupboards. They've done a very, very nice job in that remodel. It has 3 bedrooms on the main level. In the basement, there is an office that they always used as a bedroom for all their kids and stuff. What's also nice is while they haven't completely opened up rooms, they have put in nice archways. So there's a lot of architectural interest in the house. Bedrooms and baths on the main level are like what you would probably expect. Most colorful.
And semi-gloss.
Very nice yard, though. The caveat, if you will, and I don't think it's a caveat, I think it has a lot of potential based on my previous personal living space. This is very near JMU, and you either like it or you don't. But when push comes to shove, JMU might just buy that house from you. So, I always like to keep that possibility in mind. But they've done a beautiful job with pavers out front. There's also a 2-car garage in the basement, so there's a garage for that as well. Very, very nice quality built home.
Very nice.
It's very pretty. Yeah.
Who else has listings they want to talk about?
8575 Beacon Hill. For us ordinary folk,
Love Beacon Hill Road.
Yeah, this is this house is this is at the top of a little knoll. Laminate floors. It's a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house. Nice wide open kitchen, really comfortable. The views from the front porch are really good views. We're used to them around here. It's on 4.46 acres, and it's just on a basement that's unfinished. One of the things that's special about that is they have a internal wood burning stove that ties into the heating system. And if you like this property, it's 309. If you like the property but want a little more acreage, there's another 5 acres with a barn available. That's not part of that price, which we have to price separately.
That's the one Lois was talking about.
Yeah, well, I kind of missed that. Whoops.
Swimming pool.
Right. Humidifier.
This when I first walked into this house, it was just terribly cluttered. Kids' toys all over the place. Good God, they could have opened us Toys R Us. And Monica went in there. There's the wood
That's
stove.
nice.
Monica went in there and got them. They've done an amazing job. Really nice home that these folks really don't want to sell, but it is what it is.
Where is Beacon Hill?
It's off of, you go 11 north to Lacey Springs Road, turn left, go back about a mile and turn left on Beacon Hill.
That road has everything from a $90,000 house to an $800,000 house. Really neat mix within 2 miles.
Now the back porch and deck needs some work. That back porch, it's been raining ever since. The first time I went in there, it rains every 3 days, so he's not been able. They're going to clean that up if you go to show this house. There's
Nice view.
that's how it sits. Right. So the property that's available is to the right down the hill. There's a long lane into the house off the road, so you know it's pretty private.
Double slide.
Was that custom built or modular?
It's custom built. It's not a modular.
And that's just the stovepipe from there.
Yeah, that's his wooden stove. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and he keeps the lawn cut pretty nice. Yeah, and there's a few woods, not many. It's fenced down one side because there's a farm on the other side. It's not completely fenced, but there's a start.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You got another one?
I have a piece of property,
Should I just sit down? You want to come up?
197 Brook Court. Yeah, great picture I took myself. There's an interesting story about this. I'll take a moment. This property is owned by a gentleman by the name of Tom Byrd. His father was Senator Byrd. And apparently, the Byrd family bought this lot in the very beginning of Massanutten, and one of his friends owns a lot next to it, which I'm supposed to get the listing on, but haven't quite pulled it off yet. So this is a really good lot. It's on a quiet cul-de-sac, and it's really gentle. It's gentle in, great building lot. Once up on the lot, you have some pretty decent views, depends on how much you clear. But anyhow, when I met this Mr. Byrd on this lot for him to show me the lot for me to talk to him, he pulls out a map of Massanutten. And it's a map of Massanutten for daggone sure, and all the street names were different.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was like, apparently it was one of the early maps, and then when it changed hands from Del Webb to the locals that bought it from Del Webb, they changed the names to all local names, like Hopkins. But that was pretty interesting.
So 49,000.
Yeah, it's a great
Third of an
building lot.
acre? Third of an acre?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah. Between a quarter and a third, yeah, it's just 2.8. Yeah.
Anybody else? Listing stuff? Nope. Okay. Have a great day.
Oopsie-dipsy. Yeah.
Your keys dropped out at some point here under the chair.
Yeah, they did.